What's good, everybody? This is Chris. I'm here today with another Chris Talks episode. We're here pretty much in the middle of July. I want to go over a few things. Start with a tip just for the market industry, and then go into some news for the cannabis, and then finally a market analysis on where things are in the wholesale cannabis market. So for today's tip, I want to give it out to the people thinking of getting into cultivation, whether it's from an owner standpoint, a license holder, a manager, even as an employee. You want to, vet out the operation, see what it's looking like. You don't want to go get a job and invest your time in something that's looking like a sinking ship. Especially if you're an investor, if you're coming in from that angle, if you're partners with people, if you're hiring a new grow team, you want to be really on top of this. And basically your grower is going to be your linchpin to the success of your cannabis cultivation business. The reason I say that is because he's that interface between the operations of the actual growing, and then he interfaces from that side to the management and ownership side. The things that need to happen, the things that need to take place have to be implemented by the grower, by the lead grower. And then you have employees working underneath him that implement that grower's daily needs. And those needs should be based off of SOPs that the facility sets out. Don't just hand over the keys to a grower who can tell you he can grow, and he just tells you he's going to do it this way and that way and that way, and starts, pushing buttons and turning knobs and pouring some of this and pouring some of that. Ideally, you want to have your facility already up and running with real operational SOPs, and the SOPs start from step-by-step instructions on each task, on each step that needs to take place on each individual day, in each individual department, all the way through the whole entire cycle. So that way every single day is planned out ahead of time, and then all your grower is doing is managing those SOPs on each day, delegating out the tasks to the other workers, double checking, making sure they're doing their tasks right, and making sure that the plan is being hit and achieved each day of the SOP. That's ideally, as a manager, as an owner, as an operator, you want to have your lead grower following SOPs and running the team just like that. That's the ideal situation. As far as implementing the operations of your facility, like how the electricity works, how the plumbing works, how the water feeding works, have all these mapped out in SOPs as well. You also don't want to have people just in there tinkering and messing with things. So the better detailed all these systems are mapped out. It's like the owner's manual for your car. You're not going to just go start pulling things out, looking to change a fuse and disconnecting wires and stuff, and then all of a sudden act confused when your car isn't working. Same with your facility. Just because you're an owner of the facility doesn't mean you know every single last detail of it. Doesn't mean you know how the breaker boxes were wired and why a temperature issue is causing all the electricity to trip. These are simple things that could happen. Maybe they wired a thermostat as a fail-safe into your breaker box, and you didn't even know that. One little thing can happen, can throw you off your whole entire harvest. You want to make sure your systems have those SOPs in place and that your team's following them step by step. And then you, as a manager or as an owner, as an operator, you want to follow up on those supervised positions of your managers, of your lead grower, of the trim department. You want to make sure that they're managing their the staff underneath them properly and executing these SOPs. And lastly, you want to have some sort of monitoring system at the very least, if not some full automation for the cultivation. TrolMaster is the simplest solution and is fairly inexpensive in the grand scheme of things. Or you can get more advanced like Aroya, which is where you're going to be getting more into crop steering, and you're going to be measuring real-time stats that are going to create your decisions for what's happening next based on the data. And these aren't just on-the-fly decisions. It's based on data that's collected, and you can see the pattern. So if an adjustment's needed, you have proper data to make those decisions. That's the ideal way. The other plus to having a system like that is, as an owner and operator, you can monitor your grow team and see their production and how they're doing on a daily basis. And if you see something's weird, if you see the moisture's down in one of the rooms, you can ask them questions on the feeding and stuff. Why is it down, etc., this and that. And really, if you're in automated feedings and you have all these variables with anything from a calibration, a setting, a bad relay, a Wi-Fi disconnect somewhere. Anything from the smallest little thing could be causing this. So you want to have those SOPs in place. You want to have troubleshooting guides for certain departments, like with the electricity, with the plumbing, with the dosatrons or your feeding system. You want to have all these in place because everything goes smooth until the day it doesn't. When something's screwed up, you're trying to call someone to come in and fix it, and they can't come in for a couple days, and your facility's now, impeded by that. You never want that to happen. That's why a lead grower is a good interface between the business side of things and the business operations, and then the actual hands-on operations and the growing side. That will entail a mixture of having a green thumb and understanding how plants grow and cultivation, and also combine that with some skills of basic construction and other related talents. All these combined together will help create a really good lead grow position. As an owner or operator, you want to watch out for those variables, and you want to make sure you put the right man in for the job, and also provide them with good workers too. If your workers aren't performing up to par, that could hinder the lead grower's job and cause him to not be able to perform his job the right way. So we're in the middle of July here. We just had a bill get pushed through. I believe it's on the governor's desk now. That's going to achieve a few different things. One of the main things is the cannabis laws currently said that in 2022, all the cannabis businesses had to have their CEQA qualifications. What CEQA is an Environmental Quality Act. California is notorious for all this environmental stuff. I'm not against saving the environment. I think it's great. This particular thing, CEQA, is very in-depth and long and drawn out. All the cannabis businesses are nowhere even near close being ready for it. None of them have started preparing, and the state knows that. If they were to go with what's been written in the law already, then basically the whole licensed market would be just wiped out. This bill is going to push that back 3 more years to 2025. So what that'll do is allow us to have more time to get all the CEQA qualifications done, which is pretty in-depth. The other thing that's on this bill, it's going to extend out that CEQA Act, but the thing about that problem is all the other cities all wrote their laws based on the state law. All these city laws will then be null and void basically, because they're going to have the early expiration date on the CEQA, where the state's going to have the long expiration date. What we're hoping happens is right now the Senate's out for summer break, so everything's at a standstill. So we're waiting for them to come back in August. They're going to hammer out the details of this bill. We're hoping that they're going to fix that misalignment with the local laws, so that way they somehow word it to incorporate whatever local laws will be extended out alongside the state laws. As long as they do that and address that, it should be a smooth transition for everybody. Another part of the bill is it's also going to combine all the cannabis regulatory agencies, which in my opinion is actually a good thing, because from the standpoint, if you're an operator, especially if you hold multiple licenses, just from that standpoint, you're going to be dealing with multiple different agencies. If you have a problem that spans between 2 different license holders, 2 different license types, especially now is even going to be even harder, because now you have to have these 2 different agencies interface with each other, plus the 2 different companies. It's just all this moving around, and then with the amount of cannabis businesses and business that's growing in the state, needs to be better organized. By combining these agencies, it's going to be the CDFA, who regulates cultivation, the CDPH, the California Department of Public Health, they regulate manufacturing, and then the BCC, which is the Bureau of Cannabis Control, they regulate the distribution licenses. All 3 of these are going to be combined into what they call the DCC, the Department of Cannabis Control. That will encompass all those agencies under one umbrella, and that way they can all operate within each other, within the same organization, share data, share information, and most likely assign some sort of an account manager to entities. That way, if there's an entity with multiple licenses, they can kind of head that up rather than dealing with 5 different people on 5 different licenses. So hopefully that also streamlines things for retail operators and ultimately consumers. That way they can get a better product. We can get the supply chain more efficient. We can get fresher stuff into the hands of consumers. We're really bottlenecked, not just by the taxes, but by the regulations. Any way we can streamline streamline compliance and regulation work, the better. Leave your comments below on your thoughts on the bill, how you would like to see it if otherwise, and why you think it's either a good thing or a bad thing. I'd love to see the difference of opinion out there. I'm back with the market analysis for today. So as of today, we're coming into the beginning of the peak of the harvest season. We're already into the beginning stages of the harvest season, and we saw that decimate the market like never before. Basically, there was no drought this year, which affected prices because of the extra supply on the market. Prices started out much lower than they normally do in July, which means by the time we hit the lowest point of the market, which is closer to Christmas time, my mind's blown right now because I'm curious to see like how low is this really gonna go? And I've seen it happen in past years when prices just dropped below numbers you've ever heard pounds of weed being sold at. No one can tell where it'll go, but what we can see is that it's significantly lower than past years. What that means on top of that is you gotta be competitive in quality, because the consumers are getting smarter year by year, month by month. Word travels quick now with social media. Like everyone wants that exotic, high quality, in-demand flower. It's not like the old days of selling weed where you could end up selling any pound, no matter how good or bad it was. You just had to drop the price accordingly. Now the prices are so low, there's nowhere really to go on the price. It's gonna start just being sold as trim for extraction. The point of this market analysis is we're gonna have a big influx of indoor grows coming online this year. And we're already seeing that happen. It's gonna create a bigger gap between high quality and low quality. And the middle quality it's gonna end up either in pre-rolls or other manufactured products that hit the cannabis market. But really, you're just gonna find your budget flower, because that's still gonna have a strong market where you can buy, $75, $80, $100 ounces. You're gonna have your high-end market where you're gonna be paying $75, $80 for an eighth versus the market that wants to pay that for an ounce. Obviously, the quality will speak for itself in that disparity, but the middle ground, we're gonna see a lot of separation from that, or that middle ground is gonna be priced just so low that we're gonna see it end up in all these manufactured products, which is probably gonna happen, if not this year, next year, because the consumer demand for quality is gonna continue to rise, which means that the manufactured products need good ingredients to go into them to make them profitable and succeed. The whole point of this market analysis is to really stress the fact that there's a lot of indoor grows coming out. There's a lot of lights coming online, and there's a lot more lights getting harvested. Production is ramped up significantly. What we're gonna see is indoor pricing either stay similar to where it's at or the same, but we're gonna see outdoor and depth pricing drop significantly, because there's gonna be more indoor on the market, and that's what's more in demand. So it's gonna actually probably hold those prices right around where they are, but you're gonna have more of the actual market wanting that indoor. The fact that there's more of a supply on the market of indoor is gonna be great for the buyers and great for the consumers, because there's gonna be plenty of it to go around. But what's gonna suck for the cultivators on the outdoor and the light depths is they're not gonna get the market share that they're used to getting to towards the fall and winter times. That's what I'm curious to see, is what the fall and winter has in store for us, and for cultivators, for brands, for manufacturers, for distributors, because each point in the supply chain, you're gonna look at the price per pound differently. A cultivator is gonna want the highest price. A pre-roll company is gonna want the lowest price. A distro company's gotta take it at market value and hopefully squeeze in a little margin on it. If he tries to get the grower down too low on price, the grower is going to be turned off to the distro company and never work with him. If the distro company pays too high to the grower, he's not going to be competitive, not going to be able to sell it. Then he looks bad to the grower. They're not going to make any money. They're not going to sell any weed. Distro, there's very small margins to flip weed on. Brands, you make the highest margin, but you got to carry that risk. And you usually got to cash out up front, and you're going to have to wait at least 3 months to get your money back, which means that you're gonna have a 3-month pipeline at least, figure 4 months for safety, to be able to supply your stores with your orders until you actually recoup the money from 3 months ago. You have these different dynamics in the supply chain. The market will favor one or more of these positions in the supply chain. The consumer in the end will usually probably end up paying roughly around the same price, but they're going to be getting a better quality. Hopefully that makes sense for you guys. Hopefully for the wholesalers and the brokers, you can take this information and save some money with it. Hopefully you're not going to make some losses, make some stupid buys. Take into account as well the disparity between good indoor, great indoor, and top shelf indoor. Decent or okay indoor isn't going to sell much anymore. It's going to be like depths. Everyone's going to want that amazing indoor. You really got to keep your eye on that. Just because it's indoor doesn't mean that it's going to be a winner. It's got to be really good indoor. And the bad indoor, the mid-grade indoor, you're going to probably have the toughest time selling that, because at that point, people would rather, even at a cheaper price, they'd rather just buy depths that are better quality than lower quality indoor. I'd say that's one of the dangerous places to be, is growing low quality indoor, because doesn't make sense to just turn it into trim or extracts or pre-rolls. You're going to want to actually sell some of that flower too, that bulk flower. That about wraps it up for the market analysis today. Leave your comments. I really want to hear anything good or bad about the segment, what your guys' perspective is, what you're seeing out there in the market. Maybe I have an incorrect standpoint and you have some evidence that you want to shed on this and some different predictions. I'd be glad to check that out in the comments and respond accordingly. So thanks. Follow, like, subscribe, thumbs up on YouTube. It helps with the algorithm, and leave comments too. Thanks.